Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're enjoying the videos along the way. Today I find myself in Egypt on the Nile, sailing here, cruising. Just behind me is the Belly of the Kings, Belly of the Queens, and a few other ruins. Now what brings me here today is chasing an Egyptologist along the way to put into the film, because what's quite significant and some of the findings about urine therapy is the Ebers Papyruses. They were discovered about 1800s roughly by cave robbers, and they used to sell these things to English and so forth, and who would ever buy them, and not knowing the significance importance of them as well, because they couldn't read the hieroglyphics at the time. Now Ebers, who was a German guy, came across the papyruses and understood the importance of it, being a significant about 20 pages of medical information. And this is something that's quite important because it's something the Egyptians used, or the pharaohs used, and documented mixtures of spells and potions and methods for things like healing cancers and other things of the time, including skin burns and things. And what's important about that is there is actually writings about the use of urine mixed with mud, and use of urine with other things. So the concept of urine therapy has been around for quite some time. So part of the endeavour of this journey was to come to Egypt and talk and meet and learn a bit more about the Ebers Papyruses and find out their significance. And this is a very age-old information that's been out there for centuries. The Ebers Papyrus is now home in Germany, one of the colleges over there, so they don't exist here. But unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to get to Germany to see them, so I thought I'd do the second best thing and come here. Sailing against current as the Nile runs this way to Egypt, into Cairo. We'll be heading off to Cairo to meet a gentleman by the name of Abraham, who actually understands all about the Ebers Papyruses and some of the uses, and he's got a quite profound information about the use of urine as well, because he did tell me his grandparents used it at times and things like that, so they're aware of it. It's forgotten about, but not as widely used as what it would normally be. I think the Egyptians could use it a bit more actually, considering their health system. But so this is where I am at the moment. Thought I'd take a dip in the Nile here, just up in Luxor. Now behind me in this direction is the way that the water's running. So it runs all the way from Africa, the middle of Africa, up until the end of Egypt in Alexandria, where the Nile hits the sea. Now it's one of the longest rivers, and it's clean and it's really beautiful. And this journey has basically taken me on a whole different level of an experience as well. So the purpose of coming to Egypt was to try and find an Egyptologist. Something that was a bit of a task. I did sort of search the net before I came in, and there's a lot of people here in Egypt that say they're Egyptologists, but are probably not, or tour guides, and things are pretty quiet here now because of what's happening in Egypt, unfortunately. So there's no tourists, there's no money, and there's no people around. There's an advantage of that is you get to see everything really nice, but there's really sad to see that there's no money here anymore and people are really struggling. Tourism is really suffering, and it's a great time to come because it's really cheap and it's great and you get to experience things. I got to go to the Karnak temple, and there was really only 20 people at the Sound of Light show, which normally there's used to be 200 when I first came here. So I've done a lot of research to try and find people that understand the Ebers Papyruses, and that's also been pretty difficult because a lot of them are really trained in current things like history and the tombs and the temples and the sites, but they don't know much about the Ebers Papyruses. So I managed to find two people that sort of know and have been corresponding with them for a while. And hopefully I'm going to be sailing up the Nile to Cairo to the pyramids and meet a gentleman of the name of Ibrahim, who he's amazing. He knows about the Ebers Paprus, he understands the urine aspect of it. He was telling me about his parents that used to use it for burns and other things in treating skin. So it was a really nice thing to see that somebody actually knew about these things. Because here we are in Egypt, and this document goes back, over 3,000 years old. When tomb raiders would dig through holes and find these things and not understand what they were for, and sell them on to, the English or museums and things. And this discovery was quite fascinating because there wasn't much records or documents on medical aspects. So this is pretty important. So the importance is there's a mixture of folklore and spells in there as well, but also methods. And urine was known back then, and even though it was only documented to use on certain illnesses, I'm sure they would have used it for other things. Not just gout or burns, but probably massaging in skin and treating different things. So I just would have loved to have seen more people in Egypt know about this, especially because Egypt is really poor, and people are suffering, and they could use this knowledge of urine therapy to help themselves with a huge amount of ailments. And I was talking to our driver, and he was telling us about how the food has changed here, the diet's changed here, how they're spraying all the crops, and cucumbers that used to be really small are massive now because they're full of all these things, and they're causing cancers, and there's a link, or people are having cancers where they never used to. So it just goes to show that there's something going on with food and what we're doing, and trying to play God with supersizing everything, and it's having an effect. So get the word out. Who knows what I'll find out in Cairo. I'll blog in a little bit at the end of this, and so I'll get back on my felucca, which is just behind me. So we're just here at this point swimming. There it is, just in the backdrop there. And so I'm just gonna take a lovely dip and enjoy my time here. I think I deserved it after after the drama I had to get here. It's quite a long way from Australia. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your support as well. I really appreciate it. There's times I feel like I'm getting lost in the moment and not knowing what the direction of what I'm doing is correct at times, and you guys blog and send me messages, and that's just amazing, and I really love you for all that, showing the support, because as a collective we all pull together, and I think that's fantastic. And I'm just trying to help everybody get the knowledge out there and do something that is sometimes a bit beyond my abilities. I think making a film is a huge responsibility and a massive task I've put on myself, and taken out financial aspects too to get this thing done. And I just hope that it benefits everybody out there as well, and that we can share this knowledge, and that you all can enjoy the film for what it was, even in the making process of doing these blogs and things. So just keep them up. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching. That's the biggest thing. Most people who do the YouTube page, they can make huge money off it. It's not about that. It's although that can help put into the film, which is great, but it's I never ask for those sort of things. It's just it's gratitude, and that's enough. And so just keep watching. All right, thanks guys. Sunset, stunning. Just coming up to the end of the cruise, and I just love sitting here listening to the melody of Egypt on the Nile, Ramadan time, prayers in the backdrop, sounds of birds and streets. Absolutely stunning. Wow. This is the part I fall in love with when I come to Egypt.